Guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Francisca and I run this channel, Siska Stitches and Designs. If you're new to this channel, please welcome to my channel, and to my old subscribers I say welcome back. Sorry I've been away for some time now. I've been working on some projects which will be revealed soon. So the video of today is a maxi dress which has a slit on one side of the dress in front. So I'm going to be showing you how I achieved that. For the bodice portion of this tutorial, I've shown us how to draft a princess seam, how to cut it, how to sew it, and how to pad it. So the top part of this dress is not going to be as detailed, but for the gathered part of this dress with the slit, I'm going to show you how I achieved that. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and share my videos, and now we can get into the tutorial. So I have cut my princess seam already and padded it. There's a tutorial on how to pad princess seam right on my channel. So after this, now what I'm going to do is to sew this together by 0.5 inch seam allowance, and I like to sew my princess seam from the bottom up. The reason I do that so that one doesn't get shortened, and I usually sew on the curved side. So I'll go ahead and sew this right now. So for the back piece, I did not pad it because it doesn't need extra padding. You don't want any parts to come out really well. So I just used the softer interlining, which is the dark gray one. I used it just to make the back piece a little bit softer. Then I'm going to go ahead and sew by 0.5 inch seam allowance. So I did the same thing for my lining as well. I just used the softer lining just to give it this little bit of padding effect. So I'm all done sewing, and this is how it looks. So I've sewn the back piece and the front piece, and you can see how the curved part of the front piece is coming out really well. That is as a result of the thicker interlining that I used on it. Like I said, there is a video on my channel on how to do this. I'm going to link it up. So I place my lining on my main fabric with right sides touching, and I'm going to be sewing the neckline with a 0.5 inch seam allowance. Before I sew armhole and the side seam area, I make sure that I do a top stitch, and I'm going to show you how I achieve that. So I'm all done sewing the neckline, and after sewing the neckline, I make sure I notch it. This is because this would help with easy turning and staying of the fabric. So it's better that you notch it, especially when you have corners and curves. So I'm going to flip it open just to show you how it is supposed to look. So this is how it's supposed to look after notching, to bring out the curved side. But it is very, very important that you do a top stitch so that your neckline stays in place. So I'll do a top stitch on the curved area as well as on the straight side, but it is very, very difficult to sew curved places. So I did the places close to the V first, then I did the curved side, and I did the straight part. So I sort of like sewed my neckline in 3 parts so that it was easy for me to sew. And always top stitch on your lining, more or less like shift your excess fabric towards your lining and then do your top stitch. So that is how I top stitched this part. So it's pretty easy. So I'm just going to turn it, and if it doesn't stay flat for you, what you can do after top stitching is to sort of like tack your neckline at specific places so that it has a hold on your bodice. So now what I'm going to do is notch the curves of my princess seam. I also do this so that it comes out really well. So I've sewn the back piece by 0.5 inch seam allowance. I sewed the zipper allowance area, the neckline, the armhole, and the side seam. I left the shoulder open because I'm going to be joining this to my front piece. So this is my front piece. I've also sewn the side seam, the armhole. So I placed the shoulders of both front and back bodice, and I'm going to sew by a 0.5 inch seam allowance. I also did a top stitch so that the seam stays nice and flat. I
use my zigzag stitch to conceal the raw edges of the shoulder joining. Now I'll go ahead and sew my side seam by 1-inch seam allowance, and after sewing the side seam, I'm going to do what is called the reduction of fold at my back panel. There is a video on how I do this. So I take 1 inch off of my zipper allowance and I draw it straight down to my side seam. I do this so that I don't have a fold at my center back when I wear the dress. So this sort of like gives me fit on my dress. So this is what I usually do. So now for cutting off the skirt, this is the front piece. I use 2 yards for the front piece and 2 yards for the back piece. So that's a total of 4 yards. So I folded my fabric into 2, and in order for me to achieve the slits, I'll be cutting off a quarter out of this 2 yards for my front piece. So that is about 18 inches. So I mark 18 inches all the way down and I draw a straight line, and I'm going to cut the entire piece out. Now after cutting, I'll be joining it back by a 1-inch seam allowance. I use 1 inch so that by the time I join up to where I want my slit to start from, I'll be able to do the fold required just for the skirts to appear really neat. So I have joined it up to the point that I want my slit to start from. So I'm going to fold in the excess open space, as you can see, like that. I'm going to fold it in so that that place is really open. So I have done that right here, and you can see how it looks. It's really neat. So what I'm going to do now is open the seam and then spread the seam open, and then what I'm going to do is now seal that place so that it stays nice and flat as well. So that is what I do. I sew that place, I close that place up, and then what I'm going to do is pivot my needle around my fabric and then seal it properly. So the next thing we're going to do is gather the fabric. So I put my stitch length on my loosest stitch, and if you're going to be doing a gathered stitch, you don't need to do a back stitch. If not, you won't be able to pull the thread to give you that gathered fabric. So I sew all the way down, and you need to make sure that your thread does not cut. If not, it's going to be very difficult to gather, especially the areas where the thread has cut. So at the end as well, you also do not back stitch. All you're going to do is pull the thread and cut, have a long thread at the end of that. So in order for me to achieve this now, I'll be pulling the thread from underneath, which is actually the thread that came from your bobbin. So that is actually going to be really loose. So I pull it gradually so that my thread does not cut. It's very, very important. If not, you probably have to sew and start doing this all over again. So I pull my thread gradually and carefully, and then I gather my fabric. So this is the front piece. For the back piece, all I did was just divided into 2 because I'm going to be putting a zipper at the back. So I've gathered 1 piece. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the other piece. So this is the other piece, and I make sure that I sew by 0.75-inch seam allowance so that the white piece of the selvage doesn't show when I join the pieces together. So what I'm going to do now is attach the pieces to the bodice. Now I make sure I gather the skirt piece to my waist measurement plus seam allowances. That is very, very important. And I'm not going to join the skirt piece first because gathers can actually loosen. So what I did was to pin my fabric, the skirt piece, to the bodice together so it has a little bit of hold, and when I'm stitching the fabric doesn't shift. So you pin your skirt piece, your gathered skirt piece, to the bodice and leave out seam allowances for joining the pieces together. So I do this for the front piece and do this for the back piece as well. And then once I'm done, I'm going to join the skirt pieces together by the side seam allowance which I gave to this. Now I'll be joining the bodice by 0.5 inch and the skirt piece by 0.75 inch. If you remember, it is because of the white selvage that I don't want to show. And then once I'm done sewing, remember I've pinned this for ease. I'm going to go ahead and sew with the seam allowance required on both the bodice and the skirt piece. So I'm all done sewing now. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut off the excess fabric and conceal the raw edges. So I'll be using my overlock machine to achieve this, so that it also helps to reduce the bulk at the bulk fabric at the waistline as well. So after doing this, now I'm going to go ahead and insert my zip. You can see how clean the waistline looks. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my zipper now. And in order for me to insert my zipper, I'll need my zipper foot, which actually came with my machine, and it actually makes it easy for me to attach especially invisible zips. So I open my zip up, I place my zipper on the fabric at the seam allowance required, and what helps me achieve a clean sewing of my zipper is the stopper that usually comes on the zip. So it gives a guide on where to start sewing my zip, and then I sew from top to bottom with my zipper foot. So you can decide to use a pin to hold your zip in fabric if it tends to shift out of the allowance required. So like I said, I'll be changing to my zipper foot. Very, very important. Now the zipper foot has a left and right side depending on which sides of the zip you want to attach to your dress. So I sew from top to bottom. I do the same thing for the other side as well. And after doing that, you can see how close the zip is to the fabric. I'm going to now close off the zipper allowance by the same allowance I used to sew the zip. So I do this all the way down. Now the bottom of this skirt has a selvage that is showing. You can decide to leave that if you want that, or you can decide to hem your skirt or your dress. So basically guys, this is how I achieve my dress. That is just it. Very simple and very easy. So this is the final look of the dress. I hope you like it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye.